Welcome to another episode of Don't Panic Geocacher. Today I'm going to talk about how thinking in a third dimension may help you solve mystery geocaches. My name is Arjen and I go by Waterfan5 on the geocaching.com website, and I'm here to talk about puzzle caches. As I mentioned, today we talk about 3D puzzles. I will give some examples, and it's all about how on a cache page you may only get the two-dimensional information, and you kind of have to find a way to bring it into a third dimension, and then helps you reveal the answer, as that can be used to disguise the information. So if you think about it, you see here the side views, the top view, front view, and the right view, but together they may be combined into a three-dimensional figure that you couldn't see in the two-dimensional. And that's how some puzzles are. So here is the first example of a puzzle. I called it Chip Away at the Gray Bits. I give you here some fictional coordinates, so I give you the degrees and partial minutes, and you have to solve the rest of the puzzle. So I'll let you think about it, and then I will explain how this puzzle can be solved. Okay, so let's build this. So I have the pattern here copied, and I'm using one of the online 3D builder blocks. There's many of them out there. I'm going to use a few, pretty much all the same, and just rebuild the pattern. So start with yellow. So you see me building the block right here. There we go. And then switch color to gray. Build the grays right there. Switch color, red. Okay, so I've built the first layer, right? It looks exactly like this. Now I'm going to build this one. So since I already have red, I'll just continue with red. The reds go here. You just have to pay attention that you don't accidentally mess up, although it's easy to correct. Now you don't have to do this, of course, with a virtual, like I use. You can actually use your children's blocks, right, to build this and just build the same pattern that I'm doing right here. So now we have kind of like the second one we've built. And now I can build the third one. So let me build one more. So that's this one. Start with yellow, yellow, and then gray, right? And then just switch it with the other ones. In this case, there's only one white in the middle, and then we have the two reds that are going on. So now if we now take a look at it as 3, we don't see much yet, right? So what I'll do is I'll finish this one, and so here we see the end result after we build all the 5 blocks. But yeah, nothing to see yet. But it also said chip away the gray. So I'm going to use here the trash can and remove the blocks. And I'm going to remove all the gray pieces. Of course, I could have saved my and simply not build them. But actually, sometimes it's easier to fill things in. So it's removed. And now to our surprise, we see actually 2 numbers appear. The number 0 and the number 3. So this we can do for all the 20 blocks that we have, build them like with stacks of 5. Of course, in this case, I knew that it was stacks of 5, that it helped. So in certain cases, you have to figure out how many stacks you need to build. But in this case, there were 20 of them for 3 by 3. So if each of them had 5, then we would get exactly the 4 numbers if we got 2 numbers for 2, which of course you may not always know. So sometimes a little bit of trial and error to see how much you need to do. Now let's look at the final result if we do all 4. So this is the result of all 4. So if I do a top view, you can nicely see the 3 by 3 patterns, but with the gray chipped away, right? And so we see the 4 that we built. And now if we rotate it, then we see the numbers appear. On one side we see 9, 2, 6, 0. And on the other side, we see 3, 7, 8, and 4 nicely appear. And you see now the effect of the white that basically hides the red from behind it. So if you look straight at it, you kind of have a clear view of all the numbers without any ambiguity. So a bit of work, but now we have like the coordinates, right? So we stuck it all together and we saw from the image the numbers. Now, this is, of course, only one way that it could represent, because if you look at it, then it may also have been upside down, right? So now in this case, when we build it from left to right, we did the right numbers. So sometimes you have to look at extra numbers that you've been given to see if it fits within the 2-mile radius, right? That's what makes these puzzles very hard if there's only 3 numbers given, because you literally have to try sometimes both ways. Also, you could have built it upside down, and if you build it upside down, sometimes the numbers are still readable. So for example, 9260 could also be 0956, right? If you turned it, rotated 180 degrees. So this is something to take into account when you do this. Now, one thing that these puzzles are often pretty good to recognize, we often see 3x3 blocks. Often there is more colors used, and you will see multiple of those stacked together. But I've seen some pretty clever disguised ones as well. I used just a 3D block builder. They're everywhere. They all use the same template. So that's what you can use to kind of like simulate it, or you could use actual blocks, right, to build it. So let's take another puzzle example. So this one I call Death Becomes Her. That's a hint as well. Give the degrees, but we solve for a full coordinate, and the hint is light. So we see here 2 views. One view and view 2 doesn't really explain what it is, but really, again, we have to look at it from a 3rd dimension. And so let me explain how this one is solved. So if you think about mixing light sources and light theory, then when light comes together, if you do red, blue, and green, then combined it forms light. And if you only combine 2, then you get yellow, purple, or cyan, depends on which one you mixed. And basically the lights shine together or come together, and that then forms the light patterns. Old TVs actually use that techniques by having every pixel of a TV be actually 3 different colors, the green, the blue, and the red, and depending on the intensity, they could display any color, using more red, less red, more blue, more green, less green. And that way simulate every color. That's what this puzzle uses here as well. So think about that you have 3 of these pixels next to each other, made each out of the 3 colors, red, green, and blue. So if we do that, so this is one where the red is deactivated, the second one red is deactivated, the other one green and red is deactivated, and the last one also green and red is deactivated. We can clearly see the number 4 from close up. However, in the 3rd dimension, when it reached your eye, you would actually see this color. You would see like the green and blue together, which is the cyan color. And if all 3 were activated, your eye would perceive that as white light. That's the way that it worked. So that's kind of the technique that we used here. So basically we can now represent 4 as this color combination by basically stacking it up like that. So if we do that for all colors and take, for example, the 8 as an example, the 8 would be the white, all 3, in the middle and at the bottom, and in between we only have 2, which we discussed became cyan. Now, for example, if we did the 6, we see that the 6 only has green here, so clearly that would be displayed as green. The other 3 would be white, and this one would be cyan again. So that way each number now has a unique way how it is perceived when it reaches your eye. If you of course looked very close, you would actually see the numbers. And this puzzle requires you to do the reverse. So I'm giving you what it is shown, and now you kind of have to make it, okay, white, that means all three are being used, blue means only the blue one is used, and so on. And now you can make the numbers again. So for example, the 4 is the 2 on the outside were used. Then we got a white one in the middle, and now a blue and a blue one, drawing out the number 4. And so we could have drawn out anything, any picture, any image using this technique by just having enough. But of course, in this case, we drew out coordinates as you saw here. And that's how the puzzle is solved. So that was the end of this video. In general, yeah, just see if you can use three-dimensional somehow. Gave you some hints on how to recognize it. But definitely there's quite a few puzzles out there that use that, and especially the harder ones, right? So that's just some more puzzle techniques. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. Definitely take those seriously. And if you want to contact me, you can reach out on the geocaching.com website, or you can send me an email. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you listening.